So that was an eclectic mix of shots that we had for you there. And now we have a couple of filmmakers from that collection. Do me a favour, make my job a lot easier and go down the line and let us know who you are and what you had up on the screen for us today.
Hi there, I'm Evan Preston and I'm the writer-director of Suong, the last film that was just shown.
Evan, the last time I saw a shot from you was The Stag. Very stark contrast in style and tone. Can you tell me a little bit about how Suong came to be?
Yeah, The Stag is very different. I've wanted to move away from horror. I've kind of made a lot of horror films previously. And Suong, I wanted to kind of look into kind of my more artistic side with, in school I painted, I've always loved art. And when I went to Vietnam a few years ago, I was so kind of inspired by the art there and the culture, and it just kind of stuck with me. And when I was in university, I spoke to lots of Vietnamese students about this, and they started kind of telling me their stories, and it resonated me. The art, all of that, started to build a story in my mind, and I wrote Suong.
So you've obviously learned from some of these stories you've been told, but was there any sort of like personal aspect to it, or why did you feel like this was the one you wanted to tell?
I think the individual story of like an artist trying to be appreciated for their art is something that I really connect with. My family have always been incredibly supportive of my work, but I think just on a larger scale, I think wanting to kind of have people connect with your work in some way is, I'm sure it's, absolutely universal with all artists and filmmakers. So I think that's why I really connected with it and wanted to tell that specific story.
Evan, can you talk to us a little bit about the VFX sequence towards the end? That's an interesting sequence, and I'd like to know how you did that.
So that was quite a process really, because from the get-go I had this vision of a kind of a painting coming to life, and to be honest with you, I had no idea how we were going to do that. It was written in the script, so it was a lot about learning about VFX for me. I hadn't worked with this kind of sophisticated level of VFX before, so it meant kind of consulting with far more canny people than that in that area than me, and it used a kind of a variety of different techniques on the day. We had like facial tracking software, some kind of motion captures, all of that kind of stuff. Really, really cool stuff. And it's it blows me away every time I see it, because we didn't have a huge budget to accomplish that on, and it meant kind of working with a VFX artist who was willing to give us some leniency. It took a long time to make it all kind of come together, but I think it turned out quite well in the end.
So with that, filmmaking is a process, and it's always a learning process. From these particular shots, what would you say you guys have learned the most from these shots? Is there anything you've picked up from them?
I think for me, working on Suong, I've made quite a few short films, but the biggest difference I felt with this one was I really felt every single person involved really believed in it, and just having that kind of support behind you from each and every person goes such a long way. It bleeds its way into the film. Everyone is willing to go that extra mile, and I really think it shows.
So we're gonna move over to audience. Is Peter? Yeah. Do we have any questions?
Well, I think it's important that it was brought to the big screen because, as you say, I think it's so universal. Everyone, to some degree, can relate to one of the themes in the film. There's loss in the film. There's not being having your creativity respected or tolerated to a certain degree, and I think everyone has a little bit of that inside of them, whether it be, you know, a job or their own artwork or film. And yeah, there's an importance in showing that for me. Not having your art respected is really tough, and particularly from the students I spoke to when I was making this film, that was something that absolutely came across so much. And there was a kind of almost a responsibility in making sure that was conveyed properly in the film. I mean, you can't underestimate that kind of feeling. So consulting with them and having the script read and criticised and just making sure it was authentic as possible was so important to me, and I think it helped the film greatly.
So the last thing I'm going to end with is that I would, obviously when we do the festival, we have a lot of people come through that are looking to get into the industry and looking to start filmmaking. What one bit of advice would you guys give to these people wanting to get going?
I think don't be afraid to get it down on the page to show people. I think one of the things that a lot of filmmakers or writers fear is showing their work to other people. And it can be really tough to begin with, but actually showing it, getting criticism, getting a response, whatever that is so important. And understanding what works and what doesn't work can make the piece. So that would be my advice, getting it out there in whatever form you can.
Well, with that said, thank you so much for submitting your movies, letting us show your movies, and most of all, thank you for being here.
Fantastic.
Thank you.